Hey, everybody. Stu Smith here, going live. I hope you are well and crushing a Tuesday morning. So, happy Halloween. We had some interesting costumes today at our early morning workout. I thought was pretty funny. I posted a few of them on the Instagram page. Uh, and they wore them throughout the whole workout, which was entertaining. One guy even went as me, which I thought was even more funny. And then I went as him just to mess with him a little bit, but it was good. So, um, so let's talk a little bit about pacing because a lot of people screw this up when taking fitness tests or going on longer runs for that matter. They don't know their pace. Because a lot of times when you first start to take fitness tests, you tend to do this, because somebody's going to say, you got to go all out, do 100% of your best effort, right? But they don't really tell you, hey, if you go out too fast on this first lap, you're probably going to start walking by lap 3 or be so jacked up that your runs just get slower and slower and slower. Same thing for sit-ups. I've seen a lot of people start the first 30 seconds of a 2-minute sit-up test, maybe get 35, even seen 40, in 30 seconds. And that's great if you can do 120 in 2 minutes, but chances are you're not going to maintain that pace. And when you burn out on sit-ups, you pretty much have zero things that you can do to get up. You're just done. So you might get 30 or 40 in the first 30 seconds, but chances are in the next minute and a half, you're not going to get 30 or 40, period. So what's that tell you? You just burned yourself out on the first 30 seconds. But the quick answer to that, and I've seen people fail it one day and pass it the next day simply by dropping their pace in those first 30 seconds to 20 in 30 seconds. And if you can do that, next thing you know, you're at 40 in 1 minute. You're at 60 at a minute and a half, and you're at 80 in 2 minutes. So that's if you practice sit ups, you just blew your pace. A lot of people do that. Um, uh, for swimming, it's the same thing. I try to get everybody comfortable with swimming a yard or a meter per second. So if you can do that, you now, for 50 meters or 100 meters, you now have to get in shape for whatever distance that swim test is. Um, so a yard per second or a meter per second is a good standard for any swim test, because a 500-yard swim, you're going to be at um, 820, anywhere between 8 and 830. For 1,000-yard swim or 1,000-meter swim, you're going to be somewhere between 16, 30, and 17. So let's say you just kind of, for longer distance swims, um, you're going to try to strive for that 17-minute 1,000 meters. So the next question, one of the guys' questions, who's I think from Greece, um, has a 10,000-meter swim. I'm assuming that's with fins, but I don't know. If it's with fins, a yard per second is fine. Without fins, a yard per second is still fine. That's the goal I would shoot for. 10,000, that's going to be a tough one to keep at a yard per second. You may want to go maybe a minute every 50, and pace yourself a little longer. But I would do some of it at a yard per second. So a 50-second 50, maybe slow it down some to a minute every 50. But I wouldn't go much slower than that, because that's going to be a 10-minute 500. That'd be a 20-minute 1,000. If you got to do that for 10,000 meters, that's going to be 20 minutes times 10, so 200 minutes. So now you're looking at 3.5 hours almost. But that's normal. That's not a bad time. So that's where I would keep it. So anyway, pacing is important. When a lot of people screw it up, especially with running, sit-ups, I've seen it a lot of times. If you go and sprint that first lap of a mile and a half or a longer run, it's going to be brutal for you the back half of that timed run. So you can't go all out, but you can go all out at a certain pace. And that's where people fail to practice. In fact, if you read this article, it talks about where you best need to pace it using and this is for the Navy SEAL PST, which is a swim, 500-yard swim, pull up, push up, sit ups, and a mile and a half run. Pacing is king in that test. Nobody crushes that test by purely sprinting everything. Because if you do, you're just going to wipe yourself out. Because it's about a 45-minute test, right? Nobody sprints for 45 minutes. You pace fast and high effort level for 45 minutes, but it's not a sprint. All right. You guys got any other questions? I do have some videos I want to show you. I got a question here just popped up. I have shoulder pain when I do pull-ups more than once a week. I do chin-ups pain-free, but I would like to be able to do pull-ups pain-free. Any advice, exercises I can do? I would probably work on your shoulder mobility a little bit. Could just be some inflammation going on in there. So taking some time off from doing pull-ups that hurt is highly recommended. And I would probably just do maybe a month of chin-ups, lay off the pull-ups that hurt, and see what that does. That way, it's kind of a compromise. You're still doing upper body pulling exercises, but you're doing the ones that don't hurt. Chances are, when it's this way versus this way, could be a little rotator cuff injury. Could just be some inflammation that if you just give it a rest, it's probably going to be better for you. That's what I would do in that one. Before I show a video, I'm going to answer this one. I'm lifting weights more important than cardio and diet when trying to drop weight. I'm 6 feet, 352, and I want to drop 100 pounds. I'm former power lifter, now a state police officer. That's a tough one because it really comes down to you burning more calories. And how do you burn more calories? Really kind of depends. Do you want to put in a lot of time doing cardio? And at 350, I would do a lot of non-impact cardio. Or do you want to put in time lifting, potentially building muscle? You might be burning fat at the same time. If you have a lot of fat to burn, then lifting could be very helpful for you. But it also depends on what you're eating. Because if you're not eating to lose weight, you're not going to lose weight no matter what you do. So you have to drop it down, get that caloric deficit. But here's my thing: if you can get a 500 calorie caloric deficit every day, then add on top of it, by not eating 500 extra calories, and if you can burn 500 extra calories a day, you can see 1,000-calorie deficit basically is what you've created, anywhere between 500 and 1,000 calorie a day deficit. That will take you in 7 days to anywhere between 1 and 2 pounds weight loss. It doesn't really matter how you get there. I personally, since you're a police officer already, you probably want to maintain a lot of your mass, probably don't need to run that much. So my advice would be this: do your lifts, but top every lift off, warm up with cardio, do your lift, cool down with cardio, and just burn an extra couple hundred calories with those warm ups and cool downs. That way, you work a little cardio, you like to lift, so keep lifting. Last thing I would tell you to do is don't lift anymore, especially if you're a former power lifter and love to lift. But if you also need a break, take a break for a cycle and just do calisthenics and see what happens. I think that's probably what I would do is do a cycle of cardio lifting and a cycle of calisthenics and cardio, um, and just see which one works better for you. You may find that the higher reps, I mean, at your weight, calisthenics are going to be really hard. So you'll probably be supplementing with, TRX bands to make pull-ups easier. Um, so there you go. I would definitely get involved with some non-impact cardio activity and burn some calories that way. So it doesn't really matter how you get there. The goal at the end of the day is you're just burning more calories than you're eating if you want to see 100-pound weight loss. And it will probably take you a year to do that, to be honest with you. I've seen guys burn it in like 8 to 9 months, lose 100 pounds, but they had a lot to lose and didn't have a lot of muscle. They were mostly fat. Muscle does help you burn it a little bit easier, but it also weighs a lot. So it depends on your muscle mass too. So hang in there. Keep moving. Regarding mobility days during the 5-minute stretch, 5-minute cardio, what do you recommend for intervals for the non impact cardio on bike or rower? It's up to you. Some days I go hard and hit Tabata intervals, hit 5 minutes, see how many calories I can burn in those 5 minutes. Some days I go so easy that I don't even break a sweat. It's up to you. Both feel great. What are the dangers of training to max heart rate? I was running my 800 intervals at goal pace and would reach my max heart rate for each interval. Well, first of all, max heart rate, when you do the old 220 minus your age, that's a theoretical max heart rate. Chances are your max heart rate's a little higher because, I've had probably a 185, 190 max heart rate. Um, and you do 220 minus 50, that's 170. I've had it over 170 many, many times the last couple of years. So, um, how dangerous is it? Yeah, it really depends. If you have a healthy heart, it's not dangerous at all. Um, if you do not, it could be very dangerous and you have a heart attack. So, if you're a young kid training hard and you hit some max heart rate sets, good for you. That's some good effort. You'll feel it and you'll get in better shape. So, when you do that run again at that pace, it may not be at your max heart rate. It may be a little bit lower. That's when you know you're getting in a little bit of more better aerobic conditioning. So maybe play around with some less than max heart rate. Play around with some zone 2 running a little bit too and just build your heart rate engine a little bit. See if that works. When training for SOAS, what would you focus mostly on? My training currently, I'm doing pool work and running work. Well, SOAS is only a week long of hard activity. Most any training program will enable you to get through a week. But here's the deal. If you have a weakness, you can't ignore it. So if you're a great runner and great swimmer, I would probably not focus too much on great running and great swimming workouts. I would focus on some lifting and calisthenics and some bear crawls and fireman carries and lunging with a sandbag on your chest, doing a lot of overhead presses with a sandbag just to simulate running with logs and boats, fireman carries, things like that. So it's a lot more than just cardio. So it really kind of depends on you. Now, I would say this, Sebastian, if you are a powerlifting football player and you're focusing on swimming and running, great answer. However, if you're an endurance athlete who swims and runs, and say you're a triathlete, not a good answer. So the answer is whatever your weakness is. All right. So before I take the next question, let me just show some videos here real quick. I want to show this is good, and here with showing you what a really good streamline is. So this streamline is about as good as it gets. And you'll see what I mean by that. First of all, look at his head. Like you see his biceps, not just squeezing his ears, but behind his ears, chin's tucked, and he looks like a torpedo in the water. So I see a lot of times where guys are gliding like this with their head up, not down. That's just slowing you down. Every yard just gets a little slower. But watch what happens when he kicks off the wall like this.
Good streamline.
Like butter.
This is the
There's a
streamline
little
you need to
dolphin kick in
practice
there,
for sure.
breaststroke pull out, comes out. This is
Top
halfway across
arm,
the pool
bottom
for his
arm,
first breath.
kick and
Now, that is
glide.
hard
Come
to
on.
maintain, but this is really good.
2,
So,
just
top
that
arm,
3,
bottom arm, kick. Yeah,
4.
this is really good. Look at this guy. He was definitely a
Still going to
swimmer
be fast.
and
So let's see
really
if he gets a
good. He's got
glide
a
in
good
here.
breaststroke pull out. He was a
So
breaststroker, I
top
think.
arm, bottom arm,
Top arm,
one
bottom arm
Mississippi,
kick.
2
So I
Mississippi.
basically
Pull.
just,
There you go. Good.
just watched him swim and said, yeah,
Mississippi
you
pull.
don't need my help. That looks really good. So
Boom.
you guys
There.
can see that again if you want. Watch
All right,
that.
good. Streamline.
That
This
is a good
this
streamline.
is the streamline
You don't have
need
to do the
practice
breaststroke
for
pull
sure.
out if you have a hard time staying
Top
underwater
arm,
this
bottom
long,
arm,
because that
kick
is
and
pretty
glide.
long.
Come
It's
on.
like 9 seconds off the wall.
2.
You do that 20
What's that?
times,
3.
you're going to feel it. Probably be
4.
skipping the breaststroke pull out by the time you do that.
Still
But
going to be
that was a
fast.
42-second 50,
So let's see if he gets a
which
glide.
is about a 7-minute
So
pace.
top arm, bottom arm.
And
1
guess what this
Mississippi,
guy
2
swims?
Mississippi pull.
About
There
a
you go. Good.
7:15.
Mississippi
So
pull.
when I show you guys like that, that's really good swimming right there. This next one, however, I'll show you guys is not horrible, but not that great, I think. Nope, that's an underwater swim. I'll take a question here in a second. In fact, we'll do this one. We'll do an underwater swim next. Just show you guys some underwater stuff. All right, so here's a question. Are there any strategies to go from what I feel like knowing a decent 2-minute 100-meter CSS to a good front crawl? I'm a triathlete that use CSS to get into swimming, but need to learn that mainly because you tend to need a lot of space doing the CSS in the CSS. Well, I would say this 2-minute 100 is a 1-minute 50. And you just saw that guy right there do a 42-second 50, right? So you can definitely be a lot faster at it. What you just saw there were great strategies to get better at the CSS. And it all had to do with his streamlined body position, a really good kick, and a decent arm pull, and getting in swimming shape to do that. As you can see, there's a lot of time underwater. But if you're doing this open water for swimming, it's probably a little bit less time because you don't have those kickoffs. But it's still, your streamline matters, your kick will matter, and just keeping your heart rate down All that is very important when you're learning the CSS, especially as a triathlete. But to get good at front crawl, my advice is take some front crawl lessons. Good news is everybody does front crawl, stroke, freestyle, whatever you want to call it. And you can find somebody to help you with that. My advice on the front crawl is learn what the freestyle catch is and do it with your arms. Freestyle catch, Google that term. You'll see some people much better at swimming than I am and coaching freestyle than I am that can show you how to add freestyle to your swims. I will say this, my CSS was better than my freestyle for probably a decade, my first decade of being a candidate and in the teams. And then I would say after I got out of the Navy, I got a lot better at freestyle. And now I would say my freestyle is faster than my CSS, which it probably should be if you're a good swimmer. Hey Stu, do you know anything about program and buds prep for people that are held there waiting to class up? Do we have scheduled workouts at all, or at least time? Yeah. Um, it's a 12-week buds program that you're going to be coached every day doing workouts. Now, can you add extra workouts? Yes, you can if you feel like you need to. But yeah, buds prep is a 12-week coaching program to get you ready for buds after a little bit deconditioning of boot camp. Stu, this has been driving me crazy. Why am I as fast with fins than I am without fins? Am I doing something wrong? Nope, you're doing everything right. Especially if those fins are big rocket fins, because they're meant for power. They're not meant for speed. So those big rocket fins that you're going to be swimming in open water at buds, they are meant to get through currents and swimming against water that's moving against you. Um, that's what they're for. If you have these little slip-on fins, they're probably going to be a whole lot faster because you can move your legs faster. They're just faster. But yeah, I always try to get people at a yard per second without fins and a yard per second with fins. And that is really fast in open water. That'll get you like let me tell you how fast it is. If you do 4,000 yards at 17 minutes per 1,000. So do the math on that. 17 times 4 is, what's that, 58? 68? Yeah. Yeah. So 68 minutes. If you can do that, maintain that pace for 4,000 yards, that's a 2-mile nautical swim. And you're, um, yeah, is that right? 8? Yeah. Okay. My brain's not working. Hang on a second. 17 times 4, 8, 2. Yeah, 68. Okay, my brain's right. So 68 minutes, and that is really fast in a 4-mile or 2-mile swim with fins, open water. In fact, you have 85 minutes first phase to pass the 2-mile swim. You have 70, you have 80 minutes second phase, and you have 75 minutes third phase. So if you can do it in 68, that's really good. And it's not that hard. 17-minute 1,000 is pretty good and not that hard to do. Just want to say thank you for all you do here. You made me get pretty comfortable in the water. Nice. Stu, when doing the CSS with fins, dolphin kick more efficient than flutter kick? It's up to you. I've seen both. I've seen guys do both, and it works for both. My suggestion is this: you tell me. Do a 500 with fins using nothing but dolphin kick. Do a 5,000 without fins, or I'm sorry, with flutter kick. Tell me which is better. It's going to be different for everybody else. It really kind of depends on the way your hips have been developed, um, prior athletic history. Did you grow up doing dolphin kicks? If you did, you might be pretty good at it. If you grew up running, might be better at flutter kicks. What's my biggest tip for SOAS? Work on your weaknesses before you go. That's the biggest tip. But there are no tips. There's no secret sauce to this, right? You just need to work hard. Make sure your weaknesses are not a weakness and they're borderline strength. And when I say that, I mean strength, power, speed, agility, grip, endurance, run, swim, ruck, muscle stamina, calisthenics, mobility, flexibility. All of that's going to make you a workhorse and more durable for the loads that you're going to be carrying. That is what it means to be a tactical athlete. And spec ops level tactical athlete. All right, let me share my screen. I'm going to show this swim. So what we do in this swim here is we stay in the deep end, because I will tell you this, when you swim a 50-meter underwater swim, you are going to go from one end of the deep end back to the other end. So you're not going to swim the shallow end and the deep end. So you just stay deep. And then when you're deep like that, it doesn't really matter what kick you use. You can use a breaststroke kick, you can use a scissor kick, and you'll see, I think he uses a little bit of both, but let's see what happens. So he jumps in feet. It looks like he's doing a scissor kick, throws a little dolphin kick in there, turns
Full
around.
glide, kick glide.
And by the way, this
Full
is not
glide,
25 meters.
kick glide.
This is about, I think it comes out to
Boom.
38 round trip. So about 19 meters down and back. So you can see what he does is he kicks and glides, pulls and glides.
Full
He does like
glide,
two
kick
strokes,
glide.
kicks off the
Yep.
wall,
Full
double
glide,
arm pull, glides,
kick
kicks.
glide.
He could hold that glide a little longer after he kicks. But yeah, he's doing
Boom.
that. Probably if he was in a 25-yard pool, he would be 25-yard one end to the other. Probably would add another 2 strokes to it. But the goal is to try to get from one end of the pool to the other in as few strokes as possible. Because if you're just stroking and kicking and flutter kicking, you're just blowing yourself up. So you don't want to do that. All right. So what I meant about holding in prep is that about 100 SO candidates, including myself, are being held at ROTC, and now we're not able to class up in prep with 364, but we're told we are still shipping out within the next 2 weeks, which means we won't start prep until January. Yeah, see, you should have mentioned all this. That's a better question. Do you know anything about what we're going to do down there? You're probably not going to do a whole lot. You're probably just going to check in, and you might have some workouts to do. My advice is probably have some workouts ready on your own to get in shape for prep. But here's the reason why there's a delay with yours is they are starting the next prep. This prep is 12 weeks long, right? And they haven't quite meshed yet. So this is the first class that is 12 weeks long. So that's putting a dent in when people show up and they're training things. So they're still figuring it out, be honest with you. But they also probably don't want to start a big class, before January, and then you go and leave for a week for Christmas and then come back So just enjoy your time in Southern California. It's a great place to be. And you may have to work out on your own, God forbid. Right. But you're getting paid to do it. In regards to swimming, what do you recommend pushing through exhaustion with slower pace and not so good form, or take a few seconds, break, and have everything on point? Um, I mean, with practice, I would say yes. With a test, I would not. My advice is get in shape so you're not exhausted for a 500-yard swim, or in your case, a 10,000-meter swim, and find your pace that you can maintain for that long versus being off pace and being exhausted. You know, a lot of that is going to depend on your fuel too. So I would make sure you have a good carbohydrate drink on the side of the pool. Maybe it's a canteen filled with some carbohydrates just so you have that. And you're probably going to want some electrolytes too because you do sweat in the pool, especially swimming a 10K. 10Ks are rough. Coach Stu, did you ever experience issues with your ears, meaning either long lasting infections or problems with ear pressure compensation while diving? Yeah, you just need to learn how to do the Valsalva maneuver. If you haven't heard of this before, you probably have never done a scuba diving class. So, Valsalva maneuver. Check that out. Valsalva. In fact, I'll Google it right now. Yep. Valsalva maneuver is when you squeeze your nose and blow gently through your nose so no air gets through and you'll feel your ears pop. And that is equalizing your ears to the pressure. But yeah, I've had some ear infections just because you get funky water in your ears, and you got to clean your ears after every time you dive, especially in open water. Gets funky pretty good. So you want to clean it for sure. Just graduated boot camp, shipping out for SWIC this week. My OPFA score in boot camp was 1030 or 1021, 122, and plank 316. Am I running too slow for prep? Um, no, I mean you're fine. Just start getting in shape. You're gonna have some time to train before your prep actually starts. So get on it. Start running. Getting in running shape again. What are good carbs and electrolytes to have around workout time? Well, I personally like some kind of juice. Um, but I also like Gatorade that has both sugar and carbohydrates. Um, Especially if you're still putting out during a workout, you're going to want a combination of some kind of sugar and electrolytes. So a lot of people make a big deal that their electrolytes don't have sugar in it. And that's great, but what if you need some sugar? What if you're starting to get lightheaded and low blood sugar? Guess what? You need sugar. So it just depends. Find something you like. I personally like bananas, apples, and Gatorade, but not everybody's stomach agrees with those. So, fruit, fruit juice, Gatorade. You can have some powders. Liquid IV, drip drop. Those have some good sodium levels in it. Element is a good one too. There's so many options, but pretty much you just need a carb and some sodium that agrees with your stomach and you don't get sick. So my recommendation is practice finding out what those are during your workouts. Then don't do anything new that you never tried before during a test. Otherwise, it can go wrong so many ways. When you're taking a 10K swim, you are given water, but instructors encourage you not to drink if you've got something to prove. Um, that just doesn't make sense. 10,000 meters of swimming for doing any activity for over 3 hours, which is this is going to take you 3 hours to do. You need to hydrate. And if you don't, you better be super hydrated going in and electrolyted going in because you're going to sweat your ass off too. So Bud's Prep is 12 weeks now. I'm one of the SB candidates stuck in RTC right now. Yes, it is 12 weeks. And that's probably what you're waiting on. You're just waiting on the next cycle to get you there. But don't worry about it. I mean, if you're stuck at RTC, start working out. Make the best of it. Do you think the new 12 weeks Bud's Prep is going to be good addition to the program? Yes, I do. I think they've always needed longer time to help people prepare. Now, here's the deal. They've had pre-buds programs out at Great Lakes before with the what was it, the 800 division, and didn't change the attrition rate. They've had mentors, former SEALs give PSTs and help prepare candidates, didn't really change the attrition. So now they're just they did away with both of those, and they're going to focus their efforts on this 12 weeks Buds Prep to see how that does. Chances are, does it change attrition? I don't know. I hope so, but I don't know. I will tell you this. I've helped people get to Buds, and physically they have no problems passing everything. And then something happens, something gets in their head, they're cold, they're wet, they're miserable, getting a lot of negative feedback, maybe have a bad day, and they decide they don't want to stay there anymore. Maybe it could be a girlfriend too. So you got a long list of reasons why, other than fitness, that people decide to not go through and finish Buds. That's a big chunk of the attrition. However, in those first 2 to 3 weeks, a big chunk of that attrition is purely lack of preparation, physical preparation. After that, they've gotten through the first 3 weeks, then Hell Week shows up, and there is something mental that is more involved in that, because you can't really physically prepare for Hell Week. It's just near impossible. You can be as prepared as you can be, but there's going to be something that requires you to dig deeper than you ever have before in order to keep going. And I don't know where that is for most people. I don't know if you can replicate that prior to training. Maybe you can. Some competitions, some sports are really tough on you mentally. Uh, whether you're an ultra endurance athlete or you're, wrestling type contact sport guy who always played with pain and knows how to just get ugly and get stuff done. I don't have an answer for a lot of that. Some guys just do it because they've never played sports in their life, but they woke up every morning at 4 o'clock in the morning, fed the chickens, fed the cows, did farm work for 2, 3 hours before school started. Then they did school. Then they came home and did more farm work. They're just tough, hard working people. And, that goes a long way. So, wish I had an answer for, you know, what I think is going to be a good addition to the program, but I think a lot of it really depends on a person's history and how bad that person wants it versus any program that's out there. How should I breathe during max push-up sets? I always get out of breath doing it fast. Find a rhythm. You're definitely not breathing like you typically would, like up, down, which is in, out, in, out. Usually you get like 5 push-ups per inhale, couple of push-ups per exhale, and you just get in a rhythm of that. Very similar to running, because if you think about when you run, you're not stepping, each step is an inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. That's not how you do it. Otherwise, you just hyperventilate and pass out. So it's like 3 steps in, 3 steps out, 3 steps in, 3 steps out. And you just get in a good rhythm like that. Similar to swimming, too. So 12-week preps is in effect. Yes. How many times do I need to say this? All right. Let me show some. Let me show some videos here. I else has All right. So here's something that I like to do with people who have a weak kick. And all it is just a kickboard drill. And you see, you lay on
Whip
your
kick.
side, you keep that
Boom.
top arm on your
Nice.
leg, just do a scissor kick and hold the glide. See if you can get like 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. See if you can get a glide going for 2 seconds
Good.
every kick. You don't want to constantly kick and get tired. You want to kick and glide,
Push
kick
hard with that back
and
leg.
glide.
There you go.
Then
All right, now let's
here's
try
what I do. I
freestyle.
like to mix this with a 50
Whip
50.
kick.
So what
Boom.
I do is
Nice.
you do 25 yards with a kickboard. Then you go 25 with a CSS, 25 with a freestyle. Hard, get
Good.
winded, and then try to catch your breath during this kickboard drill after being winded from the free.
Push
But it's
hard with that
basically a
back
50
leg. There you
50
go.
in reverse where you do
All
the
right, now let's
CSS
try
first
freestyle.
and you do the freestyle second, but you throw in a 25-yard
Whip kick.
set
Boom.
of scissor kick
Nice.
every set. So basically it's swim 25, then do a 50, grab the kickboard where you left it off. Swim 25, do a 50,
Good.
grab the kickboard where you left off. Do that 10 times. So that's 75 yards times 10.
Push
That's a
hard with that back
750
leg.
yard
There you go.
workout. That's a
All
really
right, now
good
let's try
way to build
freestyle.
your kick. I promise you it works really well. And I think I had him do.
So this is basically a 25-25
Yeah, I
with
think I had him go
a
freestyle first for
kickboard
the
drill
first one.
added to it.
And
So
then we said, you know
it's
what?
a 75-yard
you're
set.
Practicing
You're
the
doing
scissor kick for your CSS. Let's change this
25
and go CSS
yards
first,
with
then
a
freestyle
kickboard,
second.
25 free,
So
25
he's basically
CSS.
doing the old
And then
50-50 where you do
grab the
freestyle
kickboard again,
first,
repeat it,
CSS second,
total of 10 times.
and mixing in a 25-yard 25-yard kickboard drill in between that. Let me see. I think I did this one on Wednesday. So this was one you guys didn't see last week. So let me get this kicked off the wall right hand. Okay, here we go. It keeps calling me. So we got time for one more of these, and then I got to bail. So let me just go ahead and show this one. All right, so here we go. We got a kick off the wall, which looks okay. That's a pretty good streamline there. I like that. Double arm pull, not bad. Top arm, bottom arm, kick. Now, here's something I like to do. See how he's turning his head here with the top arm? I think I tried to correct him before, but watch what happens here. See how he pulled already? And this was what he was doing, keeping his face in the water after that top arm pull. I like to turn with the top arm pull, breathe with the bottom arm, and kick and glide. Now what he has to do is he has to turn his head, bottom arm pull, and breathe all at the same time. And it's just awkward. So, but looks like he catches himself. There you go. See how he's turning with the top arm now? Trying to fit it in there. So he's following. There you go. Now he's forcing it. Still a little awkward, but it's getting there. He's understanding that coaching tip. Let's see what this one looks like. I think this was maybe his strong side or weak side. I can't remember which one was strong or weak, but top arm, bottom arm, kick, hold the glide. This is pretty good. You know, he's got timing down. I like to just have that head out of the water a little bit earlier. But that's not bad. That was 50. See, he started at 3. That's like a 51 second 50. So I like that. That looked good. All right, folks. I'm sorry I got to cut it short today. Just got a big afternoon of coaching to do. A couple phone calls. Going to keep me busy today. But if you guys, if I missed your question, send it to me. Stu at stewsmith.com. Send me some videos. Happy to critique them. For you guys in limbo, get on a program. Whether that's your own or one that you did before boot camp, get back on it. Whatever you did, just start training because you're going to need it. Especially you don't want to go nothing and go to prep really bad out of shape, fail a PST, and you're out of the program. So start training now. All right, guys. I got to go. Check out StuSmithFitness.com. Live 1.5 will save you 15% on anything you buy. You guys have a good one.